you see in your GoToMeeting module. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen now. And let me know if you could see my screen okay and if you could hear me all right. You could just type into the chat box or the questions box there. Just let me know if you could hear everything and see my screen all right. Excellent. All right. So again, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. I'll toggle through my questions and make sure I get them as quickly as possible. But today we're going to be reviewing the CMA package. Now there's a few ways on how to find your comparables and build a CMA package, but some of the things I want to show you are some shortcuts, some defaults that will help you get through that process a little quicker. So up here, starting over in the admin menu, you have a few default configurations or default settings you could go through. We scroll all the way down. You have your CMA document setup. Below that, the CMA default field setup, the seller's net sheet setup, and the find comparable setup. We will be discussing these. And let me go ahead and just click into the CMA document setup here. And now you have a few options here. You can revise your cover letter. So if I left click on the cover letter, now these boxes or these options at the very top, like date, contact name, address, salutation, all that is grayed out because when you go through the CMA package or the building process, which I'll show you in a few minutes, all this information will be populated by the date that you run the cover letter, the contact that you're running it for, and their address if you have it available, along with their salutation. Now going down at the bottom here in the section where it says body, this is what will appear in the body of your cover letter. You can put whatever you'd like in there. You have some formatting options up here, some styling as well. You can choose from different fonts, sizes. And below that you have the clothing or the footer section there. You can put whatever you'd like. You could even put your photo, your company logo if you'd like by left-clicking on the insert image. And once you're all set there, all you want to do is make sure you hit save on the left-hand side, top left. What I'm going to do is just hit back one. I'd like to show you the same thing for the agent resume. Here's your resume, all your affiliations if you'd like, and again, they all do have the same editing options up here at the very top. You put in your affiliations, your professional experience, the education, any professional associations, or any personal information down here at the very bottom if you'd like. And of course, once you're all set there, you just go up at the top left and hit save. Go back one there, and the office resume is set up. Now this will only be there if you're the office broker. You have office manager rights, anything with the office manager broker access rights, you will have the office resume set up. Next, let's go ahead and go back to the admin, and again, that was CMA document setup. Now let's go ahead and go down to the CMA default field setup. So I'm going to left click here. And now this is all configurable per property type. And again, these are just defaults. Just because you set it up here doesn't mean that this is all you get and you're stuck with this each time you run a CMA. These are just your defaults to give you a head start when creating the CMA package. And this does look very familiar to any of your custom one-line grid setups or anything like that that you've gone through and configured in the MLS as far as custom searches or one-line grid goes. Everything on the left-hand side is what is available to you to select from. Everything on the right-hand side is what you have chosen for this property type. A quick and easy way to look for a field instead of having to go through this entire large list here on the left-hand side is on any web browser, you can hit Control F, and again, that's Control F, and it's a find. It's a keyword search. So what it does here for Google Chrome, on the top right, it's going to bring up a keyword search. So if I want to look for heat, I just type it in and it brings me to the first one that matches the keywords. So I could left click here and then find the location I'd like. So if I want this in between, or let's say I just want this at the very bottom, you could either just hit add, it will add it to the bottom, or here you could just put 100, add, and it adds it to the very bottom of the list. Now, from right here, if I want to move this up, I just left click on the field, and I could move up, move down. I could renumber it if I'd like. So if I want this in between, let's say, acres and address, you just give that a little sort of 15. Click out of it, and it inserts it in between acres and address. Once you're all set there, you'll go ahead and hit save on the top left. And again, this is per property type, so if you do want to do this for each property type, you would have to go through each tab here, configure it, and then go to the top left and hit save. We'll go ahead and do that there. And again, I'll show you how to configure this or modify it on the fly as well. So going back to the admin, that was CMA default field setup. Now let's go ahead and go over to the seller's net sheet setup. Now this one we're not really going to cover too much because it is something you set up per county, and of course all the numbers and figures here are different. They're foreign to me, so any of these outstanding balances, the discounts paid by seller, all of this is intended to be set up per county as a default, just to help you go through the process a little bit quicker, smoother, a few less clicks. So if the numbers here are always changing, like the seller's broker fee, maybe escrow closing fee, if there's not really a definitive kind of like average or default value you could put in there, you could always leave it at 0 and update it once you get to the building of the CMA package. Now up at the very top you have clear values. You could restore system defaults, which is all a 0 pretty much, and then restore your defaults. So if you went through, saved the seller's net sheet, and then you didn't like what you were doing, you could go back and hit restore defaults to go back to your original settings. And again, this is per county. Here, we'll go ahead and hit cancel here. I don't want to modify any of that information. And we'll go back to admin. And now that was seller's net sheet. And find comparable setup we'll get to in just a few minutes. Now again, so we just covered the CMA document setup, CMA default field setup, the seller's net sheet. We'll get to find comparables in just a few minutes. Let me just make sure I don't have any questions here. Okay, excellent. All right, now let's go ahead and go to the home page. Now that we've covered the default CMA configuration settings there, let's go ahead and find a listing. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in a listing number here. 243960, I'll hit enter. Okay, so what I want to show you here is one of our neatest features, which is called the Find Comparables. Now this search can only be done when you're looking at a single listing in the full detail view. So if you look over on the right-hand side under displays, this is the full detail view. And if you're not on the full detail view here, you won't see the Find Comparables option. So you have to be on a single listing in the full detail view to select this Find Comparables button. Now let me show you exactly what this does. Okay, so keep in mind that this listing here that I want to find comparables on has a 4-bedroom and then 3 baths. So I'm just going to open up a new session here on the top right. I'm going to open up this new MLS session, left click. Now I'm going to admin, all the way down back to Find Comparable setup. Okay, so what Find Comparables does is it takes basic information on the property you're about to run a comparable search on, and it runs a radius search, finding you comparable properties based off the basic information I'm about to plug in here. Now what this means is when you're running the radius search on the single listing you're on, do you want that radius search to be ran a 1/4 mile, 1/2 mile, 1 mile, 2, 3, and of course these again are all defaults. You can always revise this once we get into this search, and I'll show you how. We'll go ahead and stick with a 1/2 mile here. And our subject property right now is a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. So right now it's asking your bedrooms adjustments, what do you want this to be? So most of you might have this starting off at 0. So if I were to run a comparable search with my bedrooms adjustment at 0, that means that I want the exact same match of bedrooms for my comparable results. So that means that each comparable that comes, or each comp that comes up must be 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Now if I select -1, that means that the comparables can have 3 as low as 3 bedrooms, and then if I select +1, it's giving it a range from 3 to 5, so the maximum of 5. It's pretty much removing and adding a value from your subject property's total. So my subject property has 4 total bedrooms. By saying that I want to search by -1 and +1, it's removing and taking it away. So it's a range of 3 through 5 bedrooms. And if I do that with bathrooms as well, which I have a total of 3 bathrooms, it's saying bring me back comps with 2 through 4 bathrooms, because it's removing and adding 1 to the bathrooms. Now below that, you have the statuses to select from. What statuses do you want the radius search to bring back results on? So we'll go ahead and uncheck, we'll leave active contingent, I'll just leave active LTC, pending, sold. Okay, that's good there. And then going down to the very bottom, total finished square feet and acreage. You can also use these values as well, and same applies here. So if you want to look for anything with maybe 500 square feet less or higher, you could also certainly include that. We're not going to do that in this round. But if you do need additional information or would like more instructions on what these fields do, there is a help bubble for each one. So if you left click on the help bubble, it'll give you a great deal of information on how to utilize those fields. And all the instructions and information we just covered is at the very top here in the blue font. Okay, so now that I've made my changes here, I have my find comparable set up. I'm going to hit save and close at the very top. Hit OK. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to my previous session where I have that listing. Okay, so again, we have 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. Now all I have to do is hit this find comparables button, and it's running a radius search for me, bringing back results for me to run a comparable or a CMA on. Here at the very top, it has my subject property. Here at the very bottom, it has all the comparables that fit my criteria. Now, if you find that there is information you would like to add in there to include in your comp search, you could always hit revise criteria. So if we left-click revise criteria, it's bringing you to a radius search. And everything here is populated with your default settings in the find comparable search, and here in the address, this is your subject property. Now if you scroll down, here it's telling you the property type and the subtype, and then all of the statuses you had selected in your radius search setup. And then scrolling down, again, keep in mind that we had a 4-bedroom, 3-bath subject property, and we had a -1 and +1 adjustments for beds and baths. So here it shows you that with those adjustments in place, it's running the search 3 through 5 because we had 4, and it's running for total baths 2 through 4 because our subject property was 3. You can always go through here and make adjustments, add criteria, and at the very top here, let me scroll up a little bit. If you go over to additional criteria, you could also incorporate the additional criteria there as well. Or if you just want the Ann Arbor area MLS, do that. Hit search at the top left. Then it just narrows down your results. Okay, let me make sure I don't have any questions here. Okay. If you do have one question, give me one moment. Okay. So we do have a question, can you add more fields to the comparable setup? The comparable setup, not just yet. Let me go ahead and go back here. I'm going to go back to this page, admin, find comparable setup. This area, not just yet. We're in the process of adding more to this, but again, this is just your default. This is just to get you started. All this does is, with one click, it brings back some great results for you based off this basic information. Now, all the information that you would possibly be able to search by or would want to search by can always be accessed in the revised criteria. So once you pull up your results and left click on revised criteria, you could always go through here and also the additional criteria tab to incorporate the fields that were in the initial find comparable setup. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the search, get my results again. All right. Now what I'm going to do is you can go through here, you can select the top left corner here and select all the listings on this particular page, or you could go through it as you'd like, taking a look at each one. But I'm just going to select a few at the top here. Alrighty. Okay, so now that you have your listing selected, what you can do from here is go up at the top left and select CMA. And you do have a few options. You can select the CMA portrait report or CMA landscape. So we'll just go ahead and select landscape. Left click, we'll hit go at the very top left. All right, and this is your CMA landscape. And of course, the portrait's just going to be a portrait version of this report here that gives you averages, highs, lows, median values based off your subject property and your comparables. Then if we go back and hit CMA again, here we have the three-up comparison report, CMA 2 line. Let's go ahead and take a look at 3-up comparison. But please keep in mind that all these reports here, they will be included when we get into the CMA package area. So we'll go to the 3-up comparison, and here it asks you if you want to include a presented by agent or within an office. We'll hit left click, go, and this is your 3-up comparison report. So what it does is it puts the 3 listings at the very top comparing your subject property. I'll go ahead and go back here. And let's go ahead and select the CMA package. We'll hit go here. Let's see here. Looks like it got stuck on me. All right, so again, I'll just select these top ones. 3, 4. Excellent. We'll go to CMA and CMA package. We'll hit go at the very top left. All right, so the requirement here is that you either select a contact to attach the CMA package to, or you create a brand new contact. So let me go ahead and left click on this lookup here under contacts. This is where you can select an existing contact. Over here on the left-hand side, you can create a new contact. Now, I just wanted to show you when you select a new contact and go here, go with Harry Potter, we'll hit OK. If the existing contact has a CMA built for them already, it's going to ask you if you would like to overwrite the existing CMA, you want to include these new listings to the CMA, or do you want to discard the listings you've just selected and revise the existing CMA. If there hasn't been a CMA attached to this contact already, none of that information will appear, and it'll look almost exactly like this, where it'll allow you to go on to the next step. So all we have to do here is hit next step. And now this is where we get into the selected fields. Again, on the left-hand side, these were all the fields that we saw when we went to admin, CMA default field setup. These are just the defaults. Here's the heat field on the right-hand side that I added. But let's say that there's a field, there's something here that my subject property has. It's really important, it's really valuable, but there's nowhere in the MLS for me to distinguish this type of feature. Here we have the option to add a custom field. So what you could do, so let's just say you have a football stadium view here. You hit Add Custom, and there you go. You've added your new field. So I could go ahead and left click on this field on my right-hand side, move it all the way down if I'd like. And then if I want to add another one, let's say you have a yoga studio. You hit Add, then it adds the yoga studio wherever you leave your cursor. Now, if this is something that you find yourself always using, very important, and you don't want to continue to update this information, simply by selecting the Save As Default, and as you go to the next step, it's going to save this as your new default, so you don't have to do this moving forward, and you don't have to go into Admin, CMA Default Field Setup, and configure it yourself. Simply by selecting Save As Default, it will save the setup that you have. Go ahead and go over to the Enter Subject Property. So we'll go ahead and go to the next step. All right, so this is where you start to enter the subject property. Now, if you don't have a listing into the MLS, you could type hand type the information in the property address, all that good information, and then select the validate address for mapping. By doing so, this is going to be able to validate the listing's address and allow it to be viewable on the map when you build your CMA package. And then you could always enter in or revise the features here. So football stadium view, yes they do, and they do have a yoga studio, so I'll just put yes there. Now, if the photo of your subject property isn't in the MLS, or you'd like to upload a different photo here, you could always go to Upload Subject Property Picture and upload a photo from your PC if you'd like, especially if the listing isn't in the MLS just yet. You could just hand enter the address, upload a property picture. I think we have a question. Let me go ahead and open that 1 second. Okay, so the yoga studio is just something I kind of randomly picked there. I was just showing you. Let me go ahead and go back to the selected fields. So what I was doing here is I was showing you examples of what you can do as far as adding a custom field, and really anything you'd like. You could even put in maybe if someone has a dog kennel, put in the dog kennel there, select the area you'd like to place it in, hit Add Custom. It's really just options of including features that a subject property has that can't be reflected in the MLS at this point in time. That's really all the Add Custom feature does for you. And then, of course, hit Save As Default. And we'll go on next to the subject property. We'll hit OK here. Okay, so once you get into the subject property area, I'll just go ahead and put my values in here again. It's more. Type in all your information, but if you'd like to enter in a different subject property and you know the listing number, you can always type the listing number in here, hit Get Info, and it'll pull that listing number in and populate all the fields here for you. Once you're ready to move on to the next step, you could select Next Step. So here's where you make the adjustments. So here on the left-hand side in the blue font, this is where it's going to tell you all the features that you're comparing against with your subject property. Here on the right-hand side is the current property that you are comparing. At the very top right where it says listing numbers, if you left-click this little drop down, this will give you all the listing numbers that you're using to compare with your subject property, and you could toggle to and from whichever one you'd like. And you also have that same option up here where it says next listing. So let's say that this current property doesn't have any of the features I added. You can make any type of adjustments on the far right-hand side that you would like. So again, this is just ballparking here. I have no clue. Let's say the stadium, football stadium view was valued at $1,000. So because your current property doesn't have it, we'll just put a minus 1,000. Same with the yoga studio, we'll just use 1,000. Keep it simple. Same with the dog kennel here, minus 1,000. Whoops, 1,000. And now what it's doing down here at the very bottom is your property price that you're comparing right now, $27,500. The adjustments took away 3,000, and here's the new adjusted price, $24,500. Now, if you'd like to make the same adjustments to the other properties, you could hit next listing, or you could always toggle to and from the little drop down at the top right. And we'll just do the same thing here for this one, minus 1,000. And you can see here it does the same thing. It takes the property price, subtracts the adjustments, and the adjusted price at the very bottom. But let's say that, for instance, this gas forced air, this one had gas, or this one has 2 to 1 bedrooms there. Okay, let's go on to the next listing. So let's say that this one had a feature that our subject property doesn't have. Even though you can do subtraction, if there's something that you would like to add, let's say plus 1,000, you can certainly do that. By adding the plus sign at the very beginning, it's going to add instead of subtract. Let's go ahead and move that value there. So once you're done adding or adjusting all of your listings, you can go on to the next step, which is perform the analysis. So here it's going to give you all the listings that you have for your building your CMA, and you can change the sort order here by changing the number here. So if I want this one to be the last, I could give it a sort of 65, and then it's going to put that listing at the very last underneath 215 North Street. If there's additional listings that you would like to add to your CMA, you can just type in the listing numbers, hit add, and it'll pull those listings in for you. Now on the right-hand side, here it gives you a suggested price or range. You can use the high adjusted price, low adjusted price, and the average and medium adjusted price values to determine that if you'd like. So here I'll just use the average and medium. We'll just use 41,000 through 42. Again, I'm just ballparking here. All right, once you're all set there, we'll go ahead and hit next step. Okay, so this is the fun part. This is where it allows you to assemble your package. Now at the very bottom, estimated net proceeds worksheet. So this is the seller's net sheet. I'm going to uncheck this because I do not have one created. But what I do want to show you is the cover letter, the agent resume, and office resume. So if I go over to preview, print, revise, very far right, let's go ahead and go over to revise. This is where the contact name comes into play. You could adjust it here if you'd like. Same with the address. Here it populated Dear Harry Potter. And then this is where you can modify the cover letter on the fly. Over here on the right-hand side, you have 3 different versions. You have your elegant, professional, or contemporary. Let's go ahead and hit preview on the top left for elegant. So this is our elegant cover letter. Let's go ahead and hit save here, top left. Let me go ahead and show you the other ones as well. Let's go ahead and go over to the agent resume. Left click revise. And then here's the same information that you saw when you went over to admin, CMA document setup, and then agent resumes. You could modify all this information on the fly just for this specific cover letter or CMA. And here is your other options as well: elegant, professional, contemporary. This one we'll just go with professional. Hit preview. There we go, Mr. Poncherelli at the top right, that's your agent photo. And below there it has your resume, or all the information you put in your agent resume. We'll go ahead and hit save, top left. And let's go over to the office resume. Oops. Excellent, and then the office resume will be an elegant, professional. Use contemporary here. And now you can change the sort or the pages that come out for your CMA. So if you want your cover letter to be first, you just update that to number 10 or give it number 5. So that will be the first one, and then your listing presentation page will be at the very bottom, subject property, and over here on the right hand side, this is allowing you to include or exclude certain types of reports or pages. Now if you want to take a look at what you have here so far, go ahead and hit print preview, top right. Alrighty, there we have our cover letter. So there, we have our slide, and the subject property comparison report. Here's our subject property, and then the listings that we're comparing against on the right hand side. And then here's the CMA report, the 1-line and 2-line, showing you the averages, the highs, mediums, and lows of your subject property and comparables. We have some more statistical information on those properties, and here we have those properties plotted on a map. This one here, this icon with the star representing your subject property, and all the comparables around here notated in the red icons. As you hover over them, they will tell you the listing number and the address as well. There we go. That is building the CMA package. And from here you can print this page, open as PDF. Let me go ahead and go back one here. Another thing you can do is you can email this CMA. So if you go to email, it's going to bring you to the email page where you can either select a contact, type in a contact, and email the CMA to your client. Go ahead and check here for questions. 1 second. You modify. You modify the DOM. Comp has been relisted by the name or a different agent. No, unfortunately, no. The DOM is not something that can be modified. It is determined by the system based off MLS rules and settings. So the DOM is not something that can be modified. Okay, so that was building a CMA, building your CMA package, emailing it to your client, printing it, previewing it. Well, let me go ahead and open up a new session here so I could show you where you can access those CMAs. So if you go over to Contacts, Prospects, over on the right-hand side, any of your contacts that has this CMA icon, this is where you can view or revise their CMA. So if I were to left-click here on this Tim Allen, this is going to bring me to the CMA I built for Tim Allen, where I could go in, revise it, modify it, delete it, or start from scratch. One second here, I'm just reading a question. the adjusted value averages with clients in the CMA. Yeah, let me see here. Let me make sure I understand that question. Okay. So over here, when we made adjustments, you can go over to Assemble Package here. You could hit Print Preview. The adjustments do show. Scroll down here. The adjustments that you make in the comparables, it does show here in your 3-up comparison. So here it gives the adjustments of that property. Is that what you were looking for there? Let me make sure I answered that question. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so you want them to be all on the same page. Okay. Let's see here. So if I'm understanding this right, you kind of want to see this more of the same view as we see here, pretty much the perform analysis and markup page here. Okay, so you get, unfortunately, no, the way that the CMA gets seen with the adjustment value after analysis. No, unfortunately, there's not. I will make a note of that though, and I'll see if there's any way we could get that updated. But again, if you're wanting everything on as far as the adjustments go on the same page, you can always print this out. But when you are comparing these subjects, the 3-up comparison report here at the very top, this will print on one page for you here. Okay. So go ahead and type in some questions there if you have any. That really covers what I had for the CMA package, building the CMA, the report that are available to you. Let me go ahead and show you one more thing here. So in the CMA area, up here at the very top right, you have a CMA package video. So if you do find yourself a little lost, confused, or would like more information, this is about a 6-minute video here that you could select and take a look at. Also, if you go up to or Help Learning Center, down here we have a few videos on the CMA. Down here at the very bottom we have the video on how to run a CMA, how to create a CMA package. But if you do have any questions, please feel free. I'll be on the line for the next few minutes here. But if you don't, again, I appreciate all your time. This concludes the CMA webinar, and I'll stay on for a few minutes to answer any questions you might have.